Hey Kentucky, this is Mary Jo Perino. Tonight, we continue to have to make adjustments in our lives to socially distance. 2 Wildcats declare their NBA intentions, and I'll talk with Senate Minority Leader Morgan McGarvey. It's all next on Hey Kentucky. Welcome into Hey Kentucky alongside LEX 18 Sports Director Keith Farmer. You were out and about this weekend putting up a fence in your yard.
I wasn't out and about.
Not and about, but you were out in your own yard.
Although I will say I did have to be out a little bit, but it was a place where there were definitely social distancing, and so it was good to get what I needed, get back to the house, and get everything taken care of.
Nice.
I got the sunburn for it too.
Well, listen, many Kentuckians are not necessarily obeying that healthy at home mantra. It's a bit more of a struggle to maintain social distancing when you go out. Retailers are now starting to limit the number of customers allowed inside at any given time. Walmart has restricted customers to entering single file through one door. Each store can only be at 20% capacity at any time. That news followed word of a Walmart employee at the Hamburg location testing positive for the virus. Other stores are also making some changes, some of them imposed by local officials. The Breathitt County Sheriff's Office took to Facebook on Friday with a warning about reports of so-called corona parties around the county, asking them to cease immediately. And Louisville police have made an arrest after investigating a video that shows a man confronting a group of people apparently over social distancing as he shoved 3 young women and grabbed the neck of another. And Governor Beshear says Kentucky is adopting, on a voluntary basis, the new guidance from the CDC recommending that people wear cloth masks in some situations. But he stresses that it's an added measure to social distancing, not replacing social distancing. Keith, it does get hard. I have seen in my own neighborhood some tempers flare when they see 2 people standing too close together.
Yeah, I mean, and again, if you have to go out, that's where I start kind of getting nervous and start thinking maybe this is where we should be wearing these masks to make sure we're protecting the others, not necessarily ourselves, because if you're going out, you must be going out for a reason, but, distance, stay away.
The ultimate irony would be if at 20% capacity, Walmart opened all of the checkout lanes.
How ironic.
That would be. All right. Well, state officials have issued mandates banning gatherings of 10 people or more. Some places are still defying those rules. That includes Maryville Baptist Church in Bullitt County. Over the weekend, they hosted services and dozens of people attended. Couples, families, and the elderly were among parishioners on hand with not a single mask or pair of gloves in sight. Pastor Jack Roberts says he told people not to come to Sunday services if they felt sick. The building usually houses 700 people comfortably, and Roberts says everyone still maintained a social distance while inside.
Do you think that being inside today with as many people who were there compromised anyone's health?
No. I've had cancer 5 times, so I'm not worried about this virus. You know, if you're so worried about it, let somebody let the doctor walk up and tell you 5 different times you've got cancer. I should not be here if it wasn't for God.
You are still holding mass gatherings, church or otherwise. You are spreading the coronavirus, and you are likely causing the death of Kentuckians.
Meanwhile, 2 Hopkins County churches that met for revival services last month have received widespread backlash since they were linked to a multi-county outbreak of COVID-19. One of them has responded to the criticism, calling it unjust and disputing that the event was held in spite of warnings. And Keith, I do get really nervous because it's Easter Sunday is this weekend.
Yeah, and again, I don't understand everybody meeting like this when there are so many churches that are doing things on Facebook or Zoom. I mean, they're using all sorts of platforms to still get their parishioners and their folks the message that they want to hear, but you don't have to be at the church.
No one is saying you can't practice your religion. You should still,
Yeah,
faith is something that we all need desperately right now.
Yes.
So just do it safely. All right, the effort to properly protect Kentucky's medical workers is also challenging. Governor Beshear says his administration is doing everything it can to provide personal protective equipment, or PPE, but nearly every time the state has placed an order, the federal government has prevented its transfer. Kentucky is asking for donations of PPE, and the governor has announced how to make it easier for Kentuckians to donate at state police posts or transportation offices. Meanwhile, a Madison County priest turned missionary of mercy is giving back once again by donating 10,000 protective N95 masks. Father Jim Sitchko, says he recently remembered a connection he has in the medical supply industry and decided to reach out. And Keith, to go back to a previous topic, Father Sitchko should be your example of what to do during really life in general, but really
Yes.
during this time.
Going out and trying to help others as best you can. And I'm just glad he remembered somebody that he knew,
Yeah.
and this is giving somebody the chance. It's unfortunate that, Kentucky is having to fight with the federal government and other
Isn't that wild?
states. I heard Cuomo up in New York had a great idea of, look, if your state's coming through this faster than others, why don't you turn some of your stuff over to the other states? And I just think that's a great idea to be able to help each other out at this time. If you're past it, help the other states get through it.
Instead of getting in a bidding war, that's
Yes.
just ridiculous. All right. Fayette County Public School officials have confirmed that a transportation worker has died from the coronavirus. Eugenia Weathers was a district employee for 17 years and a relief driver. A district spokesperson says out of 630 transportation employees, 19 have tested positive for the virus. 2 of those patients work at the Liberty Road Garage and 17 work at the Miles Point Garage. District officials say they've worked with the health department and taken every step possible to minimize the spread of the virus. But Weathers' family said the district's efforts to protect workers fell short. Last month, FCPS said they would no longer offer meal delivery to bus stops after a transportation employee involved in the process tested positive. And Keith, I'm not sure of all of this, things surrounding it. I do think that the Fayette County Public Schools have tried their best. That didn't prevent someone from losing their life. It's awful.
And a lot of it has to do with so many of those nice people that we talked about earlier trying to help out others. And I believe they were the ones that were maybe trying to get the meals out to these kids as they're home, that they're used to getting this, and they're trying to keep things as normal as possible. And it just has, it's caught up to them, obviously.
Yeah, it's a sad story. All right. Lexington Mayor Linda Gordon is calling on local businesses to assist with the city's shortage of medical supplies. Lexington is running low on ventilators, masks, and protective equipment, and that shortage could have life-threatening consequences if not addressed soon, should the number of COVID-19 cases continue to rise. Now, Lexington has had only single-digit increases in the last few days, but it's still too soon to call that a trend rather than a blip, which is one reason the mayor is being proactive.
We're asking any business to just do some critical thinking about what you have, what you might donate, or whether you can turn your production to making some of this. And if you can, we can connect them with the specifications.
And Keith, I think a lot of businesses are doing this.
It's kind of like what we were just talking about, on a national scale. If you're here in this city and you have enough of what you need, help out the next business, the next person, the next, hospital especially, and try and help us get through this.
Absolutely. All right, we got to turn to sports now. 2 Kentucky Wildcats have entered their names in the NBA draft. Today, Tyrese Maxey confirmed that he has officially declared. Sounds like he's going to stay in, as well as Ashton Hagans. He's foregoing his remaining eligibility. Maxey averaged 14 points, 4.3 rebounds, and 3.2 assists this past season. He is projected to be a lottery pick. In Hagan's sophomore year, the 6'3" guard averaged 11.5 points, 6.5 assists, and almost 4 rebounds and 2 steals a game, en route to becoming a National Defensive Player of the Year finalist. Keith, neither one of these are surprising.
Not at all. I think we expected those 2 to go for sure. Maybe more so in Maxey's case. Hagans, we would look at it and say maybe he's on the fence because he had a lot of turnovers this year, especially towards the end of the year. And then at the end of the year when he had his time where he needed to be away from the team, he's going to have to answer to the NBA scouts and coaches when he meets with them, whenever that can happen, might happen over a phone, to tell them what happened in that case. So I could have seen him coming back or going. I just think he's ready to move on and start getting paid to play basketball.
He is, and it never really works out if someone really wants to go and then they come back. It doesn't really work out for anybody. All right, now in Hay, Kentucky, in case you missed it, a review of recent headlines. Governor Beshear has decided to veto Senate Bill 2, which would require Kentuckians to have a photo ID in order to vote. Beshear says he believes the bill would create voting obstacles, resulting in fewer people casting their ballots, and that it would pose a health risk by requiring people to get a photo ID during the coronavirus pandemic. Secretary of State Michael Adams reacted by calling on legislators in both parties to override the, quote, regrettable veto. Up next on Hey Kentucky, we'll check in with the minority leader of the state Senate. Morgan McGarvey talks about the recent passage of the one-year budget and other issues facing the state during a very unique legislative session. Stay with us.